Hey, everybody, welcome back. And, nobody expected in the middle of March that we would have some snowfall. Now, it's not significant, but the fact that we have some coverage out there is pretty amazing. So when you're out there, you know what? Be safe, go out, build a snowman, enjoy a snow angel, whatever. Let's get things rolling here. So mortgage rates, well, they kind of spiked. Well, not just kind of, they did. Funny enough, they went up almost a half a point, even though we're still about, half a point less. With that, home sales, they're still just kind of bobbling along. There's nothing absolutely fabulous. We're going to go through that. We're going to talk about the metrics. We're going to go through what our local real estate market is doing, how best to take advantage of it, how best to plan. The best part is it's free. So let's get the show on the road. All right, you get that music here and you almost want to dance, but not really. So anyway, you don't want to see me dance. That is definitely for sure. All right, so let's bring this up. So we've seen a modest recovery with the home sales, and we're seeing a slight increase on a national level, as you can see here. With that, look at our chart. So funny enough, we had our 2020 through 2022, and then of course it's been situation normal, and then we had our little bit of a spike. We came down a bit, then now we're heading back up again, and that is not uncommon for this time of year as we start to see more and more activity. Housing affordability. Hey, housing affordability became just a little bit better, and when we talk about that, they take a combination of interest rates, where pricing is at, where inventory is at, who has the greater dominance as far as market share. Is it the sellers? Do they have more control, or do the buyers have more control? And the sellers have just a tiny, teensy weensy little bit more, not a whole heck of a lot more, just because we've had interest rates come down, even though they did spike up. Yes, we anticipate things coming back down. Yes, things are based on bonds. And yes, we are going to see some influx in some of the rates depending on what's going on in the international world. I'll just leave that one alone. With that, when we talk about inventory continues to expand, it's up 2.4% on a national level since January, 4.9% higher year over year. Ours isn't quite that much locally. We're definitely not at 8.8 months supply. We're closer to the 3. Price growth remained subdued but positive, a modest 0.3 increase from a year ago. Our numbers are just a little bit better than that. We are a little bit more unique. We are a little bit more insulated. We are still, again, in the top markets, technically in the top 5 markets. We were almost in the top 6, but we did a nice recovery. So as we go through, let's take a look at some of our headlines. So again, here we go. We got the modest recovery keeps existing home sales in the same old range. Bottom left, purchase applications buoyed mortgage demand amidst rising rates. And then as you can see, we bumped up basically a half a point in rate. We went from 5.98 up to 6.41, and that was a bit of a jump. Will it come back down? The answer is more than likely. We're hitting the low 6s. Mortgage rates spiked to 2026, which are the high levels for where we're at today. When we take a look at Freddie's 7-day running average, you can see the circled sections there down below where we took an upswing, but I think we're going to start to mellow back out again. It's going to take a little bit as, again, the international things start to happen. We're still 0.5% better than where we were at last year. That's super important. So what does that translate into? What's going on with our market? Market is super, super resilient right now. If you take a look at that bottom chart, super interesting, right? When we take a look at January and February, the actual number of days on market came down. However, we are still basically about 13 days higher than we were at this time last year, but our list to sales price actually improved quite a bit. So even though we were higher in February and January as far as total average time on market, which came down, and now we're only about 13 days. We were up to about, I want to say almost 20 days, 25 days, came back down. And then when we take a look at percentage of list to sales price, we're getting super close. We're getting back very close to that, list to sales price at 100%. We're at list at this price, and we're at 98%. Or basically a 2% adjustment is what we are seeing on an average of 3/4 of Washington state. When we take a look at the upper chart up there, which is the 7-day running average, look, we've got 1,048 homes that came on market. And then when we look at pended, we had 1,183. So basically 140 homes went off market more than what came on market. Okay. In other words, if I bring on 1,048 homes, 1,192, I think it was 89, went pended. So it's not a whole lot, but it's been a trend, and a trend that we have been seeing ever since January. And so we've been pulling down that inventory, even though we're seeing a lot more buyer or seller activity coming on market, which is great, because that is what our industry needs, so that buyers have more choices. Even new construction benefited, from this last week, and they saw some really good numbers. Now, what's super important about that? Hey, if you haven't yet, share and like the video, and if you feel really generous, hey, go ahead and subscribe. It just helps the channel. There's no marketing at all. So hopefully you will find some great value in this. So let's take a look at what's going on with the market in our numbers. So funny enough, when we take a look at these, so the center chart has 256 more pended for the month of February or March, year over year. Even the solds are up. And remember, when we talk about solds are the rearview mirror back here, right? Solds are what happened. That's what went under contract in February. That translates 30 days later into closings in March. So it's a good metric to watch, but active and pended and new on market, those are dynamic numbers that we really need to pay attention to. That tells us where we're going. And when we take a look at just, the upper chart, when we talk about what's happening, look, we have 663 more pended homes year to date than we did last year, 119 sales off. And we're definitely going to start seeing the makeup of that, because it was a little sluggish going into things, right? So when we talk about the average sold price for the month of February, we're up 0.7%, right? So a little over 0.5% is the average sales price. Year to date, average sales price is down 2.1%, but it's still higher than it was last week. So basically, look at this. Sales are down slightly by 1.4%. 3 weeks ago, it was up a minus 5.4%. So we've been gaining ground each week over the last 3 weeks, to where next week could very well be just even with the board. Pended sales are up 6.4%. Average time on market is 13 days. Average 7 days less than it was in February. So we were at 20 days in February. Average sales price is higher by 0.7%. Again, showing that we're seeing basically a better price, shorter time on market, and sales prices very close to where we're at, 0.7, right? And then, of course, mortgage rates spiked. And we were 5.875 just a little over a week ago, and we're at 6.41. That's what happens with bonds. That's how the international and the stock market and everything else affects what we're doing. So in that regard, as things settle down, we'll see those mortgage rates come back down. Now, when we hop over, we take a look at new construction. New construction did amazingly well. As you can see, they did better. Let's blow that chart up for you. We look at the bottom chart. Look, pendeds are up 1.8% and solds are up 5.5% year over year. They had a great last week. They ended up getting a lot of new contracts. That's what we see as far as pended. The solds that are the February contracts, February pended, translated into March solds. So we're starting to see that. And we know that as we hit towards the end of February, especially as rates started to come down, started getting a lot more buyer activity, we saw a massive influx of new construction, and it translated right there. So if we come back, we take a look at the fact that we've got an improvement over year with solds and pended. We were off 20 some odd percent a couple of weeks ago. We're down to 13.7. So they're making some marketable improvement on where they're going. Now, when we talk about the time on market and sold prices, this is kind of interesting. So we're seeing more time on market with some of the new construction, which not uncommon, I guess, this kind of year. I was just still a little surprised. When we take a look at the actual days here, interesting enough, we for the month of February, we're seeing new construction staying on the market 17 days longer after release. Year to date, 22 days longer. Gives a little bit of that yellow warning flag to say, hey, we need to pay attention to this. The sales prices are, listed sales prices are doing well at 98%. That's pretty common, although it's a little bit lower than where it was last year. Now, let's talk about bank-owned homes. And again, this week, nothing really exciting. We rolled out the numbers for March here, and yeah, we have 28 more homes than we did this time last year. Kind of small. Only 5 technical more homes came on market than last year. That's, again, still pretty small. 1 more sold than what we had last year, which, okay, whatever. And then, of course, we have 13 more pended. Here's the thing. Bank-owned homes don't, they're a good quality home to buy, but it's not a, hey, I'm going to go get myself a screaming deal type of thing. And that's what it's not. The banks are super smart. They're doing super well on getting all of the updates done, paint, carpet, and vinyl, get them back on the market, and they get market value for them. And, that's super smart. That's what we highly recommend, and, especially in a limited inventory market. And that's super incredibly important. Now, as we take a look at different things, make sure that you go and check out all of the additional information you have access to. You have videos and whatnot, market updates continuously for each week, different videos on how best to navigate our market. And again, it's super accurate. Do us a solid, leave us some feedback, ask yourself a question. Well, ask me a question, actually. Put it down below. Let me know what you've got. And if it's a super complex answer, like many folks, we just send off a quick video. In the meantime, sun is out, snow is out. Be safe. Enjoy your travels today. Have a great day. And I will see you on the next video. Take care.